Sophia, BWR or Belgian Waffle Ride, Asheville, North Carolina. The Belgian Waffle Ride experience expanded out of San Diego. They have a lot of different locations now. And Asheville is one of them. You aren't really a gravel racer, but at this point, I feel like we have to like recognize the fact that you're darn good at it. You won Crusher and the Tusher this year. And then you also, so you did Steamboat Gravel. Day didn't go like you wanted it to, but then at BWR Asheville, you won. Can you give us like the kind of like the focused race recap like we do, in the sense of what did you do well and what didn't you do well at that event?
Yeah, BWR Asheville was cool. It was the first time we were racing it. It was supposed to start at the Sierra Nevada brewery that they have in Asheville, but because of COVID, they had to move it a little bit outside. So we were in this like mountain bike park in the middle of this little mountain. So it was like super, it like felt like you were at summer camp. It was really cool. But yeah, BWR and most gravel races are mass start. So it was obviously important to be near the front at the very beginning, or just even at the start line, just because the roads were super small and it was a little bit chaotic. And really now that, it's a big hot topic, gravel racing and women's racing specifically, that we're racing with the men, like for me, it was the first climb that was 30 minutes in. It was, 20 something, maybe a 30-minute climb. And
oh, wow. Right off the gun, basically.
Basically, yeah, which is really nice because it creates a lot of selection and it splits up the field. And the more the field is split, the safer it is.
You say it's very nice. I'm sure there were a lot of athletes not saying it's very nice. So
yes, yeah. and it helped that it was a gravel climb, because I think it's pretty interesting to see the amount of people that come from a road background really struggle when it's no longer pavement under their tires. So it creates a little bit more of like a fun, you got to pick your lines. And it started at the bottom of that climb third. Flavia and Tiffany Cromwell were both ahead. And then I just kind of slowly picked them up. And as we were getting near the top of the climb, I made a little gap onto Flavia, and it meant that I was able to make a selection further up. So I was in selection number 2, and I think she ended up being in 3. And Tiffany was maybe in 4 or 5. And when I mean selections, it's just like these little groups that kind of form on the road. And there was a few times I got dropped from that group and I had to chase back on. So I definitely earned my right to be there. But then it gets to a point that I'm no longer racing the women. I'm just racing the men. So, and it's all fun and games until I found myself alone in the last 2 climbs, because there was a big puddle. I went left, everybody went right. It was super soft. And I kind of lost my little group of 4 guys. And, it's all fun and games when you're with a group. But then the moment you're off the front and you're by yourself and you're like, oh my goodness, my competitors are probably in a group of 5, 10, maybe 15 men behind me. Like they're going to put in a lot of time into me without doing little work, as I am off the front by myself doing, trying to hold 230 watts up every climb. And luckily I got caught by some guys and was able to kind of work with them. But yeah, gravel racing is interesting. It's not, especially in the women's race, I don't think it's a women's race. And, this afternoon, there's a really big Zoom call with all the gravel women to kind of talk about the state of the sport and kind of what we feel is fair. How would we, pitch it to race promoters on how we think a race should be ran, or at least, how can the women's race be a women's race. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation and very productive conversation with all the girls. And I just want to win a gravel race knowing I was the strongest girl and I didn't need no guy, helping me go fast. So.
Yeah. Good job. Was it like, how different is it racing something like that compared to racing a mountain bike race for you in terms of like fitness? Is it like a totally different experience than what you usually have when you're mountain bike racing?
I think the first hour is like you're racing a short cross-country race, just because you are having to go above threshold and try to make it above every little hill and do a 350 watt acceleration to kind of make those selections. But then you kind of settle in a group and then you're just sitting, upper zone 2, tempo, maybe a little bit threshold when you're kind of pulling through. And then the race really comes alive in the last hour, maybe 90 minutes. I think that's when the race really happens. And it's either when your fatigue starts to set in, and if your nutrition, your hydration wasn't on point, where you start to suffer, or when, if you were in a group of 10 and your competitors were in a group of 30, like they're way more fresh than you are. So I think it's really different, but it's really fun too. It's like a really long group ride. And, I raced, or it's not a race because it's a group ride in Tucson, like the shootout. And I have so much fun trying to make that a selection with all like one of the fastest guys in the nation. And I feel like gravel racing is just a 5 to 6 hour version of the shootout. So I think it's fun. I think there's definitely some changes that need to happen just so women can race women. But I have a lot of fun. It's tactical, it's fast. It's good to show the men kind of how strong we are. I think that's a huge advantage. But yeah.
Talk about the good prep for that too, being the shootout. You have like Sam Long, Ben Hoffman, if you for the cyclists that are listening that may not know, two absolute, incredible athletes on the triathlon side. And then you have a bunch of pro cyclists, pro mountain bikers. You have like a crazy mix. Like it's not uncommon to have multiple national champions in that group, and you're holding with them. So that's really good. It's proper practice right there. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's fun because there's halfway through, there's a part called a bridge, because it's really a 45-minute segment, 1 to 3% slight incline. But there's one little part halfway through that you cross a bridge and it kind of pitches up. And Keegan always makes it his point to make it as hard as possible so I get dropped, like
a great boyfriend. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, for me, it ends up being good training because, if I make that selection, I know I'm riding good. But you definitely have to be comfortable with the pack and have to have good skills and good fitness. And I think gravel racing is cool. I had way more fun than I thought I would, for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. It's a good way for you to be able to do a lot of different things too with your skills as a pro bike racer. It's got to be fun to do something different than just, the same sort of races all the time.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.